This is a road test video for a Honda Civic 1.8 SI. This particular car is registered LY10FWU. Mileage at start of this brief road test is 60,511 miles. The reason we do the road test is basically we're selling to customers now from all over the near continent and all over the UK. We just feel as though it's right, if you're going to buy one of our cars, you can get to see it in operation prior to coming to see us. Worth pointing out also that the test drive route I do this on is exactly the same as you'll be doing yourself in terms of the roads locally to us, so it should be representative of obviously what you should experience yourself if you come and see and obviously drive the car, obviously if you're interested in buying it. I always start with the engines. I'll just go kind of through all the major stuff one by one for you. Given the fact clearly that this car's just had the one private owner and obviously an absolutely full Honda service history, I'm not expecting to find too much, but if I find anything I will relay it back to you, as I always do. So starting with the engine, wonderful unit, 1.8 VTEC engine, cam chain driven, so no belts to change. This particular engine is as smooth as you like. Lovely, clean revving engine, no warning lights on the dashboard, temperature gauge of the third, which is exactly where it wants to be on the car. That's a good opportunity with a red light, just to check the idle on the car. Idling absolutely dead steady on the car, there's no fluctuation there at all. Temperature gauge is set at a third, which is where it needs to be on the car, and given the fact that the exterior temperature today is 32 degrees, it's absolutely blistering today. So this is the fact that it's running at this normal temperature is a good sign, even in this extreme weather. Worth pointing out also, I normally do this later in the video, but the air conditioning is pumping out absolutely ice cold air, which is a blessed relief given just how hot and humid it is today. So engine really sweet. They're a fantastic unit, they really are. I'm just going to put the steering column up a fraction. It's got plenty of low down grunt, which the Honda engines aren't always famed for, but it's still got that lovely top end snarl to it, and very free revving, so clean and easy to pick up the revs, and it revs through the rev band absolutely beautifully. Can't fault it, just feels like a brand new engine, really does. Engine then goes through the clutch into the 6-speed gearbox. Clutch is light as a feather, utterly smooth in operation. There's no clicks, there's no vibrations, there's no squeaks. Bites absolutely perfectly, cannot fault it. And the gearbox is an absolute work of art. I can find not a hint of wear in the gear selection, linkage or otherwise on the car. Brilliantly done box by Honda, as they always somehow manage to do. It's got just such a lovely crisp gear change for a car that's got obviously cables running from the lever to the gearbox. You find a lot of cars can be very vague on their gear selection, but this has just got that lovely kind of click action, very short in throw, utterly precise, beautiful sort of springing to, when you sort of drop back from fifth to fourth like that, you don't have to move your hand, it just finds its way home. And gentle pressure the other way. It really is a superb gearbox and shows other manufacturers just how to do it. But I can find in the powertrain of the car absolutely not a hint of wear anywhere. Steering tracks bullet straight. There's no vibration through the steering wheel at all, and it's, again, as with the rest of it, there's nothing. There's no sloppiness. There's no vagueness. There's no clattering back through the steering of the car, which suggests that anything's worn underneath. Likewise, suspension of the car, rides. It's got that lovely Honda compromise between kind of too harsh and too soft. Soft can seem very good on a test drive. I think, yeah, that's great. 2 weeks down the road, when you've flung it around a few tight corners and roundabouts, you'll be wishing you had one of these. They corner really flat, really precisely. Well done, mate. That's brilliant. This is kind of its domain. It's a superb car to drive, and it complements the steering perfectly. So you've got what is quite a quick steering rack on the car, so it's really just turn the wheel and it wants to go straight away, but the body motions of the car respond beautifully. So as you turn, the car twists with it without kind of lurching, which can be kind of quite upsetting on a car. And as with the steering, I cannot find just even the merest hint of any wear underneath. Quite often you'll find with cars that have done a few miles, a few years old, that the shock absorbers, the top mounts and the struts can sort of rattle a little bit with a little bit of wear and use. Particularly ones that had got a lot of sort of inner city driving, on sort of potholed roads. Also, because over like a perfect example is that bump there, you'll hear it going over the bump, but what you don't get is those kind of aftershocks, those rattles from underneath, where, as I said, the mount you might hear clattering away, or you might find that the anti-roll bar links is just chattering with a little bit of movement, but there's nothing. Absolutely superb. It's very quiet on the move. There's no wind hiss that shouldn't be there where you've got a poorly fitted window or windscreen. The brakes are fantastic. I'll just give them a jab now. That is rock solid brake pedal, it really is. Just pulls up dead straight, no pulsing, no grinding from the brakes. Absolutely perfect braking on the car. Really lovely modulated pedal as well. It's got it's not too grabby, but it gives you utter confidence when you hit the brake pedal. Looking inside the car now, this is the facelift model. Obviously this is the SI version, so it's a really nice spec, very sought after car actually, especially in this colour. But the dashboard's been revamped in 2009, and this was one of the later models. So the plastics around the windscreen, the electric window buttons on the driver's and passenger side, around here. Also, this part of the dashboard is no longer shiny clear plastic. It's a kind of a textured feel, which just doesn't show any of the marks that the earlier generations did. They've done a really good job. There's no squeaks, no rattles, no buzzers. It's a beautifully made car. The interior I still rate as, by country mile, the nicest of all the cars in its class. Because what I mean basically is, it's not only is it a very interesting, to say the least, dashboard to look at, but it's utterly practical as well, which it doesn't always go together. So what we've got here is dead simple, really easy to use radio CD in a world of kind of high tech. It's wonderfully simple to operate, but all with very high quality buttons and controls. Then up high there you've got a digital readout there for your radio and your climate control system. Just to point out, just to prove that I do pick up on things on these test drives, so don't think this is just to give it a glowing report. As I've hit the brakes there at slow speed, I can hear a slight noise from the rear brakes. So I'm going to get my mechanic to check them, because it sounds to me like the brake pads might be low on the back. So I'll get that checked and we'll have those looked at. But I just heard as I went at low speed there, which wasn't noticeable at the high speed. So just stop here a second. I don't know why the truck's carrying on through, but it's fair play. Right, back to the dashboard. So all the readout nice and high up there, but the best part is this two-tier dashboard. Up nice and high, you've got the crystal clear speedo readout. So as I'm looking ahead for the cars coming the other way, I can still monitor my speed as my kind of peripheral vision, if you want to call it that. And it's brilliant. It really is much safer than trying to nod your head down, trying to take in speed, and that split second can be all important, as we all know. Further down then you've got a more conventional part of the dashboard. Even that's still got this hologram effect where the information display system in the middle kind of comes out towards you. But you've got a big dominating rev counter, fuel and temperature gauge, and as I said, the gauge is exactly where it should be. All the readouts absolutely perfect, all pixelation's perfect. Every button I pressed has worked absolutely as it should. I genuinely, if there was a reason to fault the car, I would. And as I said, the only thing I've found thus far on the car is just that little bit of brake noise on the back there, which will either just be where the car's been stood for a little while at the dealership where we bought the car, but from the sound of it, I'm inclined to believe that there may well be a low brake pad, and we'll get those changed as and when required. But we'll crack on with that straight away. But overall, can't fault it. wonderful, wonderful car with absolutely impeccable ownership credentials.